Hello, Dave Michaels from Talking Points. Decided to do a impromptu discussion about hybrid work. Um, it was a really busy week last week, and I didn't get to write anything. Started off my week in Denver, ended up my week in New York City. I had a bunch of personal errands and appointments. Apparently, I have some cavities. I managed to buy a car. A lot of you have commented on that on my LinkedIn post. I got the Fisker Ocean. Finally, that car took almost 2 years to arrive. Uh, and I may have bought a home. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I may have bought a home. More of that to come. Saw my first concert at Madison Square Garden. It was a one of the tenors singing these wonderful Italian Christmas songs, or I guess they're just Italian songs, but they're just not the same without Bugs Bunny. But they also did a lot of classic Christmas tunes as well. Such a stressful week. I managed to lose my remarkable tablet, but I understand it's been found, so it's hopefully on working its way back. But that was all last week. I want to talk to you. The reason I was in New York City last week was Cisco invited me to their Penn One office, which is a working, busy office for Cisco, but also a bit of a showroom for some of the stuff they're doing around hybrid work. And it got me thinking about a few things. Cisco is not the only company working in this space, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But I think one of my key takeaways is, is how everything old becomes new again. Hot desking is cool again, but it's not your father's hot desking. Hot desking, if you don't know it, is an old telephony feature. The idea was that you would have these general courtesy phones laying around, maybe on desktops or unassigned desktops, and a person can come up to that desk phone and key in a code on the dial pad, and that would make it their phone. And if they had voicemail, their voicemail light would start to flash, and of course any calls coming in would ring on that phone, and if they made an outgoing call, it would show that number, their number. And then when they would leave, they would turn it off and it would turn back to a generic courtesy phone, and they could reassign their number. And this is particularly useful when you have multiple locations and you have people going between offices, that you could activate your phone at any office you go to. But hot desking was an old feature of telephony. Now that feature largely died off and disappeared. PBX lines became less important because of our cell phones, because of soft phones. You can hear your cell phone, plug it in at a desktop, and your phone works on there. Your laptop basically replaced your phone, your calendar, your email, your camera, your meetings, all that stuff. So the soft phone kind of the laptop and soft phone kind of replaced hot desking. But like I said, everything old becomes new again, and the new hot desking feature is really much less about the phone and more about the desk. So it's actually named properly, like Netflix was named properly for a network service. The fact that it was an old DVD model, it just kind of worked out. But hot desking is an old feature that actually is about the desk, it turns out. And there's going to be a lot of renewed interest around hot desking because of hybrid work. And so we know the narrative for the last few years has been work from home. And we know there's been a lot of pressure lately about return to office, or RTO. And some sort of compromise is likely to emerge out of all this. And some companies are doing mostly in the office compromise. Some companies are doing a mostly remote compromise. But there seems to be a mainstream approach of compromise emerging, and that involves a hybrid office, an office that has people that come in sometimes. And of course, when you talk about the hybrid office, you have to talk about hybrid work in general, because the way it works is that you've got people working either at home or possibly people working remote. Maybe it's hotels, coffee shops, field work, other offices, etc. But you've also got people coming into the office. And we need to make them productive and useful regardless of where they are. And we've put a lot of focus on that in the UCaaS industry over the past 20 years of making them effective remote, but we haven't really addressed how to make them effective in the office because until recently that was the norm. Everybody had a private office. You had a phone, you had a desktop, a laptop, you had a place to plug it in, you had monitors and keyboards, and it all just kind of worked. But now in this new emerging future, we're probably going to be moving away from a lot of dedicated desktops. And so what do we do with the desk instead, and how do we manage that space? And it's raising a lot of interesting questions. Uh, One question is, how do you furnish a desk? I mentioned in the old hot desking model, you had a basic phone on there. Do you even have a phone on the desk? Do you have a monitor? Do you have an appliance? Do you have a keyboard? And and you kind of need to come up with a norm, what is going to be there, so that employees can expect that. Um, Dedicated offices make less sense. It's probably going to be some sort of norm that if you're in the office X number of hours or X number of days, you can get a dedicated office. But it'll probably become something that's just not assumed anymore. And that applies, I shouldn't say office, workspace, because it applies to cubes as well. So we need new tools at the bottom line to manage this hot desking, or sometimes it's called hoteling. Now, there's specialized vendors that have been doing this for a long time, and these vendors know facilities managers, and there's all kinds of software and approaches to doing this. You have a QR code on the desk, and you can either take a picture of it with an app on your phone, or you do something else, and they're kind of unrelated to UCaaS. Well, worlds are colliding, and now the UCaaS industry is getting really interested in this. And three vendors in particular have announced solutions, or have solutions. Zoom has workspace reservations, which is a very well thought out, comprehensive solution. Cisco has a product called Spaces that I think came out of their IoT efforts, but works with WebEx and has a lot of overlap with workspace reservation from Zoom. And then Microsoft has announced Microsoft Places. It's the last time we heard about it was several months ago, and it was supposed to be in private preview in 2023. It didn't really come up at all at Microsoft Ignite, which kind of was surprising. So I'm sure it's there. I'm sure somebody's working on it very hard, and I'm sure it will be disruptive when it comes out. But right now, that one's still kind of behind the curtain. But so workspace reservation and Cisco Spaces. So as their names imply, they're more about the space or workspace than about phones. And they're meant to workspace. And so why is the UCaaS industry doing this? Because the UCaaS industry has been doing this for a long time with meeting rooms. So if you could manage a meeting room and book a meeting room and indicate to people the size of the room and what kind of equipment it may have, and all these attributes of the room, it's not that hard to take that concept and put it onto desktops. It's actually the exact same concept and exactly the exact same solution, because you want one solution to reserve a meeting room as you do to reserve a desk. And so there's some natural synergy there. So these spaces are going to collide, because now the UCaaS industry, which has been doing this for a while with meeting rooms, is now looking at the desktop. And now these companies that are doing it with the desktop, they don't have as easy of a way into the meeting room, but they're kind of, seeing the need for expansion of their solutions. And so there's going to be basically, we've seen this battle before. It's going to be basically one set of vendors targeting the facilities manager and one set of vendors targeting the IT managers. And if history is a guide, the IT solution is probably going to win. So this is actually an interesting, nice expansion area for the UCaaS sector, because the UCaaS sector needs expansion. Telephony is, which was at one time the heart of UCaaS, is becoming, the less important. We'll just say less important. Meetings and messaging remain important, and now contact center is a possible adjacency, and there's other adjacencies. And one of them that I think is not getting enough attention is this concept of hot desking. And it's really interesting because it's certainly Zoom and Cisco and apparently Microsoft have figured out the importance of this and are working very hard. At least Zoom and Microsoft are working Zoom and Cisco are working very hard on creating a solution. Um, so, so the idea is that it would reserve a desk or a room for a meeting and or a work time. Maybe you're going to be there for the whole day. And at a minimum, it just about allows you to reserve a space where you can plop down your laptop and get some work done or have a meeting. But there's actually quite a bit more you can do with these tools because you can manage other equipment and other services. You can manage the phone, whether you have a phone on the desk or you want to move the phone number. You could have desktop appliances on the desk, both Cisco and Microsoft, and I guess excuse me, and Zoom, and I think Microsoft through the same vendors like Neat that work with Zoom have kiosks that you could have like a desktop kiosk that is a touchscreen that could be used by itself for meetings, but could also be used as a second monitor and could also be used as a reservation system. And so there's actually a device there that can do all kinds of things. So you've really got an opportunity here to kind of think about what you want to put on that desktop, which I mentioned earlier. And the way you do this is, at a minimum, is with QR codes. It's interesting, like Cisco and their Pen One, they actually display the QR code on their IP phones. So you can go up to an IP phone at a desk, get that QR code to display. You scan it with your mobile phone, which of course has your WebEx app and your identity, and it reserves it for you. I think got a very similar solution with Zoom, and we don't know what Microsoft's doing, but the QR codes is interesting. You can also print the QR code and just tape it onto a desk. You can do uh, the kiosk like I described before. So Zoom and Cisco have a lot of overlap around booking their workspaces. They are a little different though. Zoom is more focused on the Zoom suite, and so, or I should say the suite. So the workspace reservation works within the desktop and mobile apps natively. It works on all their appliances and room panels, etc. The Cisco solution is a broader play. It works with WebEx. It also works with Meraki, their Wi-Fi solution. It has IoT sensors. It's a very interesting one they displayed at Pen One for lighting, called a light harvester. So when the room is kind of light already, that it will dim the lights because there's already enough light from sunlight. So it's kind of a very energy efficient solution. There's also other solutions. Crestron has a solution. Logi has a solution. They have their own scheduling system that works, or they'll work with other. There are they also work with QR codes. So there's lots of solutions. So I think this is going to be a new emerging area for the UCaaS sector in general. These are extensions of room booking solutions that are adapted to desktops. And let's see, what else could I say here? So just some general advice. I think this is going to be a really important category, a big opportunity for IT consultants, big opportunity for resellers. Some general advice around this hot desking solutions, a few things to consider. If you're looking for a hot desking solution, mix it up. Cisco I'll show you some things here from Pen One at Cisco. They showed different kinds of rooms. This was like a hallway section. They put a little small kiosk on the tables. Because of the sound and AI management, they could make a zone right around that workspace, so the sound only picks up local sound in front of it. They also had this wonderful room. It was just the right size, so it didn't require remote control. The microphones in the front could pick up anywhere you sit. Kind of a idiot-proof meeting room. I liked that one. They also had these ad hoc rooms that you couldn't schedule, that you just went in and used them if they were available. And I thought it was interesting. They had kind of uncomfortable furniture in here because they want people to be in here a short amount of time. But so mix it up. I think that's an important part of this messaging that I'm getting is different kinds of rooms, non-bookable rooms. Cisco said that non-bookable rooms get higher utilization than the bookable rooms. I thought that was really interesting. I think reservations are really important. The Zoom solution really has a nice feature around reservations. So if you're going to come in with a group of people, you could all sit together. If your department's going to come in for Tuesday meetings, you can all sit together. Sometimes you don't want to sit with your group, so just to know where they're sitting, so you can sit somewhere else. But a big part of RTO or return to office is getting the teams together. Also, I think it's really important to work with the whole solution. Cisco, for example, has their WebEx Go. So if the employee only has a mobile phone from AT&T, they can come in, they can scan it on a desktop, and their phone number from their cell device will show up on their kiosk now. And of course, their meetings and identity. Bluetooth headsets that are paired with your laptop. Maybe they're paired with your phone while you're coming to work. You get there, you scan in, and your Bluetooth headset profile moves over to the kiosk on the desktop. I think there's a lot of really interesting opportunities here uh, to bring the whole solution together. And then the last thing I just want to raise is that you want these solutions to work on multiple devices. That includes the mobile app that you have on your cell phone. It might include the desktop app on your laptop. It might include walls, the big screens on the walls where you can use touch screens and book a room and find a room. This also ties into e-signage for that matter. I didn't mention that. There's also the little room panels. Both Cisco Navigator and Zoom often uses the Neat panels, but the panels in front can be used for booking a room, not only booking that particular room, but booking any room. And then, of course, a web interface. So you want to be able to book this hot desking concept from lots of different spaces. So those are some random thoughts on on hot desking. I think it's going to be a really important trend in 2024, and hope that gives you something to think about. Thanks for watching.